Good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a blessed week so far. My name is Pastor Manny, and this is a ministry we have here called Looking Up, where once a week I share an encouraging thought for the day and for the week. And something I've just been studying recently is about integrity. And where I've been studying this from is Matthew chapter 5, verses 33 to 37. And Jesus is talking about truth telling the truth, right? The whole truth and nothing but the truth, as some of you are familiar with the movie that talks about that. And I'm gonna go ahead and read it, and we're gonna get into what this is saying. We're gonna do like 2 or 3 parts of this because there's a lot to talk about just in this short few verses. All right, it says this again: you have heard that it was said to the people long ago, "Do not break your oath, but fulfill to the Lord the vows you have made." But I tell you, do not swear an oath at all, either by heaven, for it is God's throne, or by earth, for it is his footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it is a city of the great king. And do not swear by your head, for you cannot make even one hair white or black. All you need to say is simply yes or no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one. All right, Jesus is talking about swearing, right? And when we think about, and when we look at our world and society today, that's kind of it. We live in a world and culture society where swearing is just a part of the culture, right? You look at music, rap music, maybe heavy metal and things like that. Even country has swearing in it, right? You kind of wonder, like, Jesus probably never drove on the freeway, right? Where people are cutting you off or and speeding and doing all kinds of crazy things, and you get angry at a person, you probably want to swear at them, but he's probably saying, like, don't do that, and just wave hi to them or something like that, right? But is Jesus actually talking about this swearing in regards to cuss words? He actually isn't, right? He's talking about giving an oath, right? Swearing by this. When you're talking to somebody, like, I promise, or I've heard people say this, I put that, I promise on my grandma's grave or something like that, right? That's kind of like an oath in our context, in our culture, or I'll put $100 in it or something like that. I don't know. But Jesus is talking about oath telling or telling the truth, and what they did back then to make what they were saying, if they wanted to get their point across, if they wanted someone to really, really believe them, and maybe they didn't trust them, or maybe what they were saying was not very truthful, what they would do is they would swear by something, right? So for example, the closer the thing they swore to, that was connected to God or to the name of God, the more weight it carried with it, right? Or some people would say, I swear by the temple, right? Or some people would say, I would swear by the gold in the temple, right? I would swear by the throne of God, right? So that would add like more weight to what they were saying if what they were saying wasn't true, so that the person could believe them. And and what they were trying to do was trying to invoke the presence of God, right? They were trying to invoke the presence of God for the vow. And another thing people would say, like, I swear on the head of my hair, on the top of the head of my hairs, right? And obviously some people can't do that because we don't have hair on our head, and some of us are going that direction anyways, So, in the case, and Jesus is talking about this, and what he is saying is, hey, don't even do that. Like, why are you guys swearing by this? Why are you guys swearing by that? And he's like, you know why you shouldn't do that? Because God, that's all God's anyways, right? God owns, God, everything is God's, right? The temple, the hairs in your head, like, you can't add stature to it. Everything is God. God is present all the time anyways, right? And so here's a story that I heard from a pastor that really connects well with this. And this is like a personal story from him, of someone he was talking to. And he was talking to a guy whose marriage had fallen apart because of he was having an affair. And when his wife was traveling, he would bring his mistress to their house. And what the problem with this was is that they had tons of pictures in their home of them two, their wedding pictures, right? Pictures of them all over the place. And so the man would have to go through the house, turn the pictures around, or take them down. So why do you think he would do that, right? when a person is committing adultery, they are breaking a vow. And if his wife had been present, obviously he wouldn't have brought his mistress around, right? And but even the token of her presence, a picture, right? It reminded him of the wrongfulness that he was doing. Jesus is saying is saying that there is no equivalent to that, right? There's nothing comparable to that. We can't turn God's picture over and pretend like he's not there, right? And so a picture is also a representation of a person that isn't there, but God is always present, right? And the more we understand this, the more we become people of integrity. We will be a person of integrity when we realize God is everywhere. And and thinking about the Pharisee, right? A Pharisee is a person that believes that they can be saved by their good works, right? But how would they view the law of God, right? They probably view the law of God as burdensome, and because they're afraid of condemnation, right? They want to follow the law because they're afraid of condemnation, and they're obeying the law is because of fear. That's their motivation, is fear, right? But what if we believe in the gospel, right? What if you believe that we are saved by God's radical grace? And what if we believe that we are saved by not by what we do or will do, right, or have done, but we are saved because of what Jesus has done. And now we are no longer, are we still fearing a God in a sense that way, right? Well, yes, but our fear is different, right? We're actually fearing of hurting him. We are fearing of committing wrong against him and grieving him because we want to delight him, right? So now the law of God is a wonderful thing, right? The law of God is a way for me to avoid grieving God, right? And so if you're a Pharisee and you believe in the law, it's burdensome, and you're afraid of being condemned, then the thought of Jesus being always around you is crushing, right? Because you're always going to be afraid. You're always going to have anxiety. You're always going to have that fear of being condemned. But when you look at it through the lens of the gospel, having the presence around of someone you love always not only provides accountability, right? But it also is electrifying because you want that person to be around you always. You want that person to be in the midst of your decision making, right? In the midst of your conversation, in the midst of what you do throughout the day. And this is what Jesus is trying to get across here with this short little passage. And is we become people of integrity, right? The secret of having integrity is to realize, to recognize that wherever we go, whatever we do, Jesus is always with us. God is always with us, right? And this will help us have integrity in all aspects of our lives and not just certain areas. All right, so that's just the thought I wanted to have for us today. Next week, we're gonna talk a little bit more about this. And this has been such a blessing to me because I've fallen short of this. And this is really helping me be careful, to be mindful of what I say and how I say things. And I want my yet to be my yes and my no to be my no. All right, God bless, take care, and have a blessed week.